Holy moly, the data mines are in and we have 4 new cards for September of 2023. Joining me today is Wolverthor to go over these cards. Are you hyped?
I mean, 3 of these are like, I'd argue must-haves. They are really good. So 3 out of 4, yeah. I want to find a way to get these, no doubt.
Okay. Battle Pass card is going to be Loki. And before we talk about Loki, I just want to say Loki has been in the data mines for a while and he has changed at least twice. So this is like the 3rd version of Loki that we've seen. And so everything in this video is subject to change between now and September. We've seen that happen a lot before, but let's just go over the current version of Loki. And this is supposed to be the Battle Pass card. Replace your hand with cards from your opponent's starting deck. Give them -1 cost. What's your take on this card?
You know, I'm a little torn. I think everybody loves to reduce costs, right? So that in itself, you've got to say is a good thing. What I don't like about this is you just never know what your opponent's going to have.
Right.
So, I mean, and how many of the cards are you going to get? And is it going to be enough for you to actually win the game? So whether it's 3 cards, 4 cards, 7 cards that you're getting in your hand, it might not be the key pieces to win. So for that reason, I'm sort of looking at this and going, I don't, if it wasn't for the battle pass being great or the season pass being great,
right?
I don't see myself wanting this card.
Yeah, I'm not sure. My take on Battle Pass cards is I'm going to get them anyways just because of the other value. And then if it's a card that I don't have to get later and spend tokens on, like if for some reason it does become valuable. But I like the Battle Pass regardless of the card. Like right. I'm going to get it. Now, we had some questions on actually how this works. And of course, this is unknown. But so we're working off the assumption is you play this on turn 3. And let's say you have 5 cards in your hand. They're going to get 5 cards randomly from your opponent's 12-card deck. That's what we're assuming, right?
Correct.
And we don't know that that's how it works, but based off of the language, that's the way we think it works. So cards that might be good with this would be Quinjet. Cards that didn't start in your deck cost 1 less. So then, then you could not only be getting the cost reduction from Loki, right?
Yep.
And then Quinjet would also help a little bit. Collector, when a card enters your hand from anywhere. So if you're getting 5 new cards, it'd be +5. And then we also, you brought this up, and I thought this was a great idea. What's the thinking there with like Maria, Agent 13, and Sentinel?
Yeah, so if the situation with this card is where it only replaces your hand based on the number of cards you have in hand, then you want to make sure that you keep as many cards in hand as possible prior to playing Loki. And so anytime you play Agent 13 or Maria Hill, they guarantee you to get a card back. Same thing with Sentinel. So you can put points on the board and still keep cards in hand. So that way you can get as many cards from your opponent as possible.
Okay. Yeah, so we're thinking Loki might have some synergy. Quinjet, Collector, Maria, Agent 13, and Sentinel. Let's go to the next card. Now this one I'm probably the most excited about is, how do you say this? You corrected me on
Eliot.
this. Eliot. All right. I was going to say Aeolith or something, but Eliot. All right. Destroy all enemy cards played here this turn, including unrevealed cards. And I think logically, your brain will go towards, null and some sort of destroy package. But I think that this is just going to be an amazing turn 6 card. Maybe with Kitty, right? You play Kitty and this guy, right? Or,
yeah.
Or like, what if you lock down a lane on turn 5 with Professor X and you're winning that lane? And then on turn 6, as long as you're, behind by 4 points or less, you're going to win that lane, right?
100%. This card, I'm most excited about this card, personally.
Yes. I mean, this is going to allow you to win a lane on turn 6. If you're down by 3 points, you play this there, and as long as it's not a card that's growing like Bishop or something, right? It's going to be a good thing, right?
Absolutely. And that's the only type of thing, like you mentioned, there's the Bishop type cards that grow based on what someone else does, and or if somebody Cosmos before you because they have priority. Because even if you don't have priority and they go for, or you do have priority, you can destroy everything in their hand because you destroy, it says including unrevealed cards. And that's the big thing that makes this card so strong is it just destroys whatever they play there. So you just need to be able to reveal it.
This is so much better than Negasonic. So much better, right? Like,
way better.
This
way
is like
better.
a billion times better than Negasonic. And I don't think that this needs to be played in a destroy package. I think this is going to be useful in multiple places. I mean, that was one of the problems with Leader, right? As long as you were ahead, you could win, right? And they kind of made it kind of now where he's a 6-2. So now you're like, oh, well, as long as there's space and I'm up by 2 points, then I can win. But this is better than that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I just think it's absolutely amazing because no matter what anybody does, this card is going to be, I mean, there's certainly counters to everything, but this card screams put in almost any deck that you've got if you want to win on turn 6. I mean, what is somebody going to do when you play this? Again, outside of a Bishop and or a Cosmo played first, it's just going to win a lane, assuming you're within that range.
Yeah, and in conjunction with Kitty, my goodness. Oh my God, right? Yuck. Okay, Mobius, Mobius, your cost can't be increased. And so that, I believe, could come in 2 forms. Wave, like your opponent plays wave, and your 1, 2, 3 drops go to 4. Well, that won't happen, right? And then Iceman. So like you might want to play Iceman with this card, right? To mess them up and not mess you up, right?
That's right. It's and Dream Dimension, which is a turn 5 killer for a lot of decks if you've got something you worry about there. But you got to be careful just carrying a card because of a location. I mean, it's still Wave's strong enough to have this card in your deck if you're worried about it.
And then your opponent's cost can't be reduced. Well, this is going to ruin Beast, Zabu, Sarah. I mean, any of those cards that are, or decks that are built around Zabu or Sarah or having some sort of cost reduction, Abomination, right?
Yeah, this is
She-Hulk.
It's insane. This is an insane tech card. It really is. It is so strong.
Yeah, this feels so incredibly useful. And then not only will it potentially ruin the other person's deck, but you could take advantage of this with Wave, right? Like you could play Wave on turn 5 and your opponent is going to be basically restricted to playing 1 card where you can still dump your hand. Like if you're playing like a bounce deck, right? You could still drop, Kitty and Hit Monkey and all of this stuff like that that's great. And he's a 2/3. I mean, this is like he's on curve like for reasonable amount of power too, right? Like a 2/3 is like reasonable power, right?
Absolutely. And your risks with him are just Rogue and Enchantress. I mean, this card is I think this one's gonna be everywhere too. I just think that it fits in so many different decks. It's so good.
All right. And then I'm also excited about this card, Ravonna Renslayer. Ongoing. Your cards with 1 or less power cost 1 less, minimum 1. So for me, this is we went and sorted, and there are a ton of cards that would synergize with this. And my general take on any kind of card that reduces cost, there's going to be an archetype. There's going to be a place for this somewhere. It just probably has to be discovered. And also, this type of card will continue to be good as more cards come to the game, right? What are your initial thoughts about this card? I think it's bonkers.
Yeah, I mean, it's really good. And again, like some of these other ones can fit in a lot of different decks. And when you scroll through that list with the Goblins, the Angela Hit Monkey bounce type stuff, Cerebro type stuff, Mystique, Darkhawk, Dracula, Iron Man, Taskmaster, Zola, Null. It literally Bishop again, bounce. I mean, you're not going to play it likely with Patriot, but all of these other cards, I mean, we talked about Null, Zola, and Bucky Barnes in there. Those are all destroy. It's sort of nuts. At first, when I first saw this, I thought maybe it wasn't that exciting, but when we started going through this list, I mean, it fits in a Cerebro 3 deck. Right.
Yeah.
So, and it helps Cerebro and it helps Mystique. So now all of a sudden you've got, another card that you can play on turn 6 for 2 costs if you got it. So go find a 2/3, not that you're going to play Mobius at that point, but Mobius is a 2/3, and so it could go into Cerebro 3. It's a great card.
Yeah, and if we're looking at these cards that are here behind me, there's so many of these are top tier playable cards. And so like if we look at like Zabu decks, right? Like sometimes people throw Zabu in a deck that only runs like 3 or 4 costs just because, right? Well, like I mean, that's how important that kind of stuff is, right? And if you can play multiple cards that you normally couldn't play on turn 5 and 6, it's going to add a lot of value. And we're just talking about a 4-drop Hobgoblin and stuff like that. Oh my God, right? It feels like, I think I got to just say this. I think September 2023 is bonkers. I see a lot of potential for pretty much all of these cards. Except for Loki. I'm not really sure how Loki's going to play out, but the other 3, it's like I can conjure situations in my head where they're going to be amazing.
I totally agree with you. I agree. But like you said earlier, the season pass, you're buying it anyway. You just hope the card's going to be decent, and it's okay. It's going to be interesting. Yeah. It reminds me of Weird World or whatever, which not a lot of people like. So, but the other 3, fantastic. Knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, I'm not sure how Loki is going to be obviously good, but and some season pass cards are better than others. Like I know a lot of people like I don't have Hitmonkey. I was like, oh, Hitmonkey is good, but like, and Nebula is good, but then it's like Ghost Spider and Phoenix Force. I'm not sure. It's just like meh. I don't know. But
this feels like a Ghost Spider-y type of card.
Yeah,
maybe a little, maybe worse. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it's just one of those things where like maybe we just haven't like in our brains haven't figured out how to abuse that yet, or maybe there's another card. But in general, I feel like buying the battle pass just for the other stuff is of high value. Be sure to head over to Wolver's Thor where he's got tons of great Marvel Snap content. Anything you want to say before we go?
No, appreciate it. Love collabing, buddy. And I'd love to hear in the comments below what card you guys are all excited about.
Yep. Bye for now.